Okay.
All right, so we are back and we are live. This is MTG Finance Live with Corbin Hosler, Adam Yurchick, Doug Linn, and myself, Kelly Reid. Today we're going to be doing a rapid fire lightning round of all the modern staples that we think you should buy or sell, or that hopefully we kind of disagree on. Now, real quick, Corbin, you've just written a post about why you think modern is due for a big price increase, right?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about, everyone wants to get into modern, but they just can't. The mana base is too expensive, blah, blah, blah. Well, now you have very cheap fetch lands, or at least you will here in another couple weeks as they continue to drop. It makes it extremely easy for people to get into the format. So, on the one hand, you're going to have more people entering, and that's going to push prices up. On the other hand, you have to navigate the reprint risk, which is a lot of what we're going to talk about today, given Modern Masters coming out next summer, we assume. That there will be a Modern Masters 2 coming out, which we've been predicting for a few years now. So you have to try to, hope that the things you spec on or are looking to get into don't get reprinted. That said, I still think that the things that are not reprinted when Modern Masters 2 comes out will go up. It's another factor pushing their price upward because that will get even more people into the format along with fetch lands. Like, Modern is in for a huge 2015.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about the format too, and I think the important thing that we want to talk about today is how to teach people how to think about modern, not just put out buy and sell calls. Those are great for a shorthand, but we really want to learn how to make these decisions on our own with our own information. And so I think starting with, will it get reprinted, and if so, when, is question number one, and then question number two is, well then, if it gets reprinted, what happens? Tarmogoyf went up in price after getting reprinted. The Painlands, same thing. So there's really two parts of this process here. So let's start with some Avacyn Restored cards, because I've got them listed in alphabetical order. Unless there's anything specific you want to touch on first, Corbin?
No, I mean, we were just talking about you have to temper everything we're saying with the fact that Modern right now is being very much shaken up thanks to Treasure Cruise and to an extent Dig Through Time and Monastery Swiftspear, but really Treasure Cruise is the big offender here. It's really pushed the format to Legacy Light, if you will, just in the sense that it's a lot of tempo decks running around, a lot of Delver decks, Burn with Treasure Cruise in it. Like, that card's everywhere, and the Modern in which that card is legal probably looks a lot different than Modern where that card is banned. So, I'm going to operate on the assumption today that it will be banned, if not before Worlds, then when the next set releases next year, because I think that a lot of big names are coming out against the card as being too good and just too format warping, and I just don't think that that will live. Jeskai Ascendancy, people talk about getting banned, and it might. It's extremely good. That deck is pretty non-interactive and powerful, but it doesn't fundamentally warp the format in the same way that Treasure Cruise does. So that's just what you need to keep in mind as we go through everything.
Absolutely. And then as a result, what we can also think about later on, what would be the results of a Treasure Cruise banning. But since we really don't know, we are just speculating at this point, I don't think that merits a discussion immediately. Let's jump in and start real quick, lightning round. Doug, Adam, Corbin, Cavern of Souls. Do you think it will get reprinted? Do you think it has upside? Corbin?
So let me start. I don't know that it'll get reprinted. This is just but it's a classic card. The name doesn't reference any particular place except a cavern. So of course it's a candidate for a reprint. Here's the thing about it though. Where does it see play? The only place I can remember it sees play, aside from things like Allies decks or Merfolk, and Allies doesn't count, Merfolk only sort of counts. But like sometimes you see it in Scape Shift decks or the Bloom Titan decks to get a primetime down. But I'm seeing its prices at $17 on TCG Player right now. I'm not seeing it going any higher than that, honestly.
Do you buy listed at 13 if you have it?
Gosh, I don't know.
I just did. I'll be honest. I rated this card a sell. I agree with everything you just said. It's a fringe card that might get reprinted. I don't think there's upside.
I think that the one thing it has going for it is the casual appeal. because hey, I don't want my dragons countered by the mean guy at the kitchen table with his blue deck. That said, casual players don't necessarily want to spend $20 on a land either. So
right, that's a good point, Corbin. If this were $2, it would be a much better call.
Yeah, the spread on it is pretty attractive. It's just a 23% spread, 13 buy list right now. I think it could go to 20, kind of creep up there, but that's not exactly a lot of upside when you're talking a $17 card. So, it's a hold to a sell for me.
All right.
Yeah,
so I'm going to hold you guys to a rating now. You have to choose. Corbin, buy or sell?
Sell.
Sell. Doug?
Sell.
Adam?
I think I disagree a little bit. I think that it definitely has a little bit of room to go up, like Corbin said, maybe towards 20, could hit 25. I mean, you're just waiting for a modern deck to use 4 of these. It could be, a pretty popular card. But I think overall, everything you said is pretty spot on about reprint possibilities and the fact that it's not really a huge card. It's seen a little bit of play in Vintage, a little bit in Legacy Merfolk, but in Modern it's really a fringe card, and I'm keeping my play set and I'm selling the rest.
So yeah, you might be a hold or an abstain on this one.
I think you should have a play set for Modern, because there may be a deck that involves like Cavern of Souls Restoration Angels and Cavern of Souls Kiki Jiki, Like if you're the consummate Modern player, I suppose you should have a set, but I don't really like buying them at this price, and I don't see them going up much higher.
I think that if you sell them at this price, unless you have a deck you're using them in right now, you can put $13 to better use. And if you need to buy it back later, fine. All right, next card. I think we had at least 3 votes for sell on Cavern. Next card, Restoration Angel. How much worse did this card get when Treasure Cruise came out?
Oh, it's a phenomenal card, even with Treasure Cruise. I see Restoration Angel. It's at $8 right now. This is the kind of card that you see hitting Geist of St. Traff levels. I see it hitting 15 at some point in a year. Restoration Angel is very good for that non-Jund board mid-range aggro kind of thing, and it's just going to be the gold standard for that.
So buy or sell. Here's the thing: the spread is 44%. I don't think you're buy listing them if you have them.
Yeah, gosh,
are you a cash buyer at $8?
I like it at 8. I would trade for them at 8.
Yeah, okay. I think that's fair. Adam? So, Doug, it's a buy?
I'm absolutely a big buyer on this card. I think it's one of the best creatures to come out in recent years. It's proven itself in multiple decks. It's a combo piece. It's a good card in a tempo deck. I could easily see this being played in some sort of blue-white Treasure Cruise deck. And I actually picked up a foil set last year at approximately 15 each, and I know those have appreciated pretty heavily. And I think this card has the potential to double in price over the next year.
So buy, Corbin?
Yeah, I'm a buyer. I'm a big fan of Restoration Angel. Everything everyone said. The thing to worry about is it is very easily a card that could be reprinted in a Commander product. It doesn't look like it'll necessarily be in this year's Commander product. But at sub $10, it's not really breaking the budget on the supplementary products. It's a card that works with a lot of things that are fun in Commander or casual decks or dual decks. And it could be a Modern Masters too if they go up through Avacyn Restored, which I wouldn't be surprised if they did. So I'm a buyer. You just need to be aware that the reprint risk is there.
I completely agree. That's 4 buys across the board. And as a reminder to the viewers, we have a new feature on Quiet Speculation, which is our expert ratings. Basically, the 4 of us that you're hearing right now, and then the rest of the Quiet Speculation staff, all have access to a system where they can put their buy and sell ratings on record, and we have a formula that compares all the different ratings and when they were posted and kind of averages them out to figure out whether or not the card's a buy or a sell, or if it's controversial, like if we disagree. So anyway, all the authors are doing that as we're going through. I just put in my buy rating on Resto Angel because the other 3 guys convinced me. And so now we're going to move on. Huntmaster of the Fells. Who wants to start this one?
I'll start. I'm not I'm not a fan. In fact, I just bought this at a couple today.
How much did you sell them for? Card Kingdom's got them for $380 buy list.
That is where I sold them. Yes. I think that it's a good card. There's a lot to it. The reprint list is low because it's double-sided. That said, it's not that good in Modern. It's fine. It was kind of when we need a Bloodbraid Elf replacement, we started there, and we didn't end there. Like, it's just not. It's not a card that I see getting much play going forward.
Doug, Adam.
I agree. I think it's an unimaginative 4-drop, and we're seeing, especially in Khan's block, we're seeing a lot of aggressively costed 4-drops, and Huntmaster's time is limited.
Especially when you consider that those decks at the 4-drop spot typically need Thrun for a lot of different reasons. Yeah, and the Khan's point is great too. You just see more and more. It's just there's not a lot to like with Huntmaster.
I think that Huntmaster was a really good standard card, and it's really not super fit to what Modern is about. That being said, as the format moves towards Treasure Cruise and Delver and more tempo, quick decks, Huntmaster of the Fells is actually decent in that scenario. But then again, against Blue-Red Delver, you want to look towards Thrun, which could actually give them problems. Yeah, I think that at this price, it's something to just get rid of and maybe keep a couple around for your Jund deck sideboard. But it's getting outclassed. Like, Doug, you mentioned aggressively costed 4-drops. Like, compare Huntmaster of the Fells to Sorin.
Mm-hmm.
Sorin seems a little bit more impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, you can walk up and down that mana curve too, and find other interesting, attractive things already. Like, I like Segu Mauler as an interesting 5-drop in Modern, if you want to go that far. But the cards like Red and Green are going to be making creatures that spawn other dudes, that gain life, that shock, and this is like not exactly a unique card or a unique effect that we're never going to see again. So,
does anybody have a buy rating on this right now?
Nope.
I do not.
All right, 0 for 4. Sorry, buddy. He was one of those big cards at the Pro Tour, and then just kind of never did anything after that.
Well,
anyway.
it was a great standard card.
Yeah. It's just that's a good case study of something that was format defining in standard for a time, not translating to the more eternal formats.
Yeah, and people want to put it in Kiki Pod, which they do now and then. Whether that deck is still alive in a Delver world, we don't know. But it does not play very well with Restoration Angel because you really want to be giving people with a 4/4 instead of a 2/2.
Right.
So there's just a lack of synergy there.
All right, moving on. Voice of Resurgence, which really gave me the business last night. So I'm inspired to talk more about it. The spread's 40%. The retail price is $17 or $18. The buy list price is $10.50. Who wants to start?
I'll go. I'm a fan of Voice of Resurgence for the fact that it was in Dragon's Maze. Third set, small set.
It was Dragon's Maze. There's no other card in Dragon's Maze worth anything.
Yeah, that's basically true. So, it's expensive. The fact that there are no other cards in that set worth money, it means it will hold all the value, which keeps it from going up. That said, if something else in Dragon's Maze were to break out, which is unlikely given that set, but if it happened, that takes a lot of pressure off what's holding the price. But I do like it as a long term. It's just so much value in Modern that it's a card that even if it goes out of favor for a time, the power level is simply high enough that it will find homes.
So I'll jump in on that, Corbin. I like it too. I had not considered the fact that it is all of Dragon's Maze. I think you're right on that. I look at it and I think, okay, so we're talking Modern playability. What would a card have to do to unseat Voice of Resurgence? Well, Scavenging Ooze and Voice of Resurgence are kind of the go-to green drops if you're in those colors, if you're in those kinds of junk colors. Voice of Resurgence shuts down opponents' board wipes. It shuts down their counter spells. It's hard to think of what a card that costs green-white, or let's say like green X or white X, would have to do to be better than Voice of Resurgence.
Good point.
Yeah.
Like, compare that to Huntmaster of the Fells, where we can say, well, for 4 mana, yeah, you can get a whole lot more of an on-the-board effect than what Huntmaster does at 4 mana. It's really hard to think of something that does its job better than Voice does it, too.
Reprint risk. Any?
I mean, it's possible. I don't... I mean, it's possible just like it's possible with any other card. I don't think it's any necessarily higher or lower. So, I mean...
Okay.
Well, here's the factor with that, too, is that you rarely see a Mythic reprinted in a box set or something like that. And they very rarely will take something that was printed at a higher rarity, like a Mythic, and print it as a rare in a future set or a box set. So I think the possibility of a reprinting is pretty low on this one.
Again, it's only in Commander could I see it being reprinted, given that they just reprinted Wormcoil Engine. So there's a precedent for reprinting $20 Mythics in Commander things. That said, there's a whole bunch of other options that they could print too. So,
yeah, and I think Wizards is going to be looking at their sales of monocolored Commander decks and seeing if it beats multicolored. And then we will probably see more monocolored Commander decks if it does.
So can we talk about the other card you mentioned, Scavenging Ooze?
Definitely. What do you think about that card?
I think that is criminally underpriced at $5.
I have won games I had no business winning, late game courting up Scavenging Ooze and activating it 8 times in one turn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, there are times when you just remember that guy's in your deck, or you draw it, and you just run away with the game. Especially in a world where, at least temporarily in Modern, we're going to be running into lots of Delve cards. I like Scavenging Ooze a lot.
Yeah, he was really good against me in Blue-Red Delver, too. Just the life gain and the bigger body, like, once he got past a 4/4, I just couldn't deal with him. And, it's the perfect storm if they can stick it against...
I mean, it's one of the it's one of the top 10 cards played in Modern, just in terms of numbers. It fits into a lot of decks. It's incidental graveyard hate, which is fairly important. The life gain is important. Everything fits. It's from a core set, and the original Commander run. That's 2 small print runs compared to if it was in something like Theros or Tarkir.
It was also a promo. I don't know if that factors into your math.
It was a promo for the Xbox, right?
Yeah, and I don't think there are a lot of those that hit the market compared to current rares.
I think it's a card that is probably $10 easily in a year.
So that's a buy?
Yes, absolutely.
If you're a modern, I think a lot of this should be specified. Like, if you're a modern player or you're, someone who wants to have access to cards, this isn't like buy it so you can quick flip it next week to make money. Like, this is buy it now because it's probably going to be more expensive before it will be cheaper, and you probably want to play with them. Yeah,
and I mean, I'm talking, even if like I'm predicting Scavenging Ooze to go from $5.50 to $10 in a year. That if you're talking cash buys and you buy it at $5 and it goes to $10, you're lucky to buy lists at $7. It's not it's not a great a buy for the long term cash, all that. But if you're somebody who is looking to get into Modern and now you have your fetch lands and you assume Modern Masters too, Scavenging Ooze is one of those cards that is not going to be cheaper and is worth having.
Cool. So, Corbin, buy. Doug, buy or sell?
I like it as a buy. Yeah.
Adam, buy or sell?
Printed in Modern Masters too, but that's just a risk.
Cool. All right, so we're going to put our ratings in the system. It's 4 buys. We haven't really come across a controversial card yet that we disagree on. Let's hope we can find one. I'm going in alphabetical order here. I'm going to skip over Breeding Pool because I feel like shocks and fetches are kind of their own discussion here. So, Domri Reid. I only put this on the list because I saw it at a Modern tournament, and it was the guy whiffed on it a bunch, but I saw how much it could have been taking over the game. The spread is garbage right now. It's 60%. Do you think this is a card that Modern players need to pay attention to financially at all? Corbin?
I think that it is, because it's a Planeswalker, to always have some built-in value. There's always the chance that someone like Brian Kibler shows up at a tournament playing Domri Reid, does well, and the card. It's got that going for it. It is that powerful that you can build around it, and it's worth building around. So it's $7 for a once printed Planeswalker. Out of a set that was certainly open, but is now 2 years old. Yeah, I'm a buy.
I'm not sure if I can go full buy on this, but I'm definitely not sell. I'm definitely not going to buy list it at the 60% spread, and I don't think if I have them, I'm eager to trade them away. So I'm going to actually abstain from rating this one. Adam, buy or sell?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of a hold on this one. I'm not looking to acquire them too aggressively. It's not necessarily a 4 of in many decks. It's probably a very popular 1 of for commander players. See some play in Birthing Pod. It does have a lot of upside, like the Kibler effect, but
you can't really plan on that happening.
Exactly. I think that I'm going to hold on to these and try to get a little more information.
Cool. Doug, buy or sell?
I'm with Adam on this. I'm a hold, and here's why: is that Wizards has been printing good creatures lately, creatures with spell abilities, so like Hushwing Griff. So we're getting nice cards that you want to Domri Raid into. Ideally, you want to have like 30 creatures for Domri Raid in your deck and 4 Lightning Bolt, which really constrains your deck building choices. But I also foresee that red-green X strategies may emerge as a natural way to beat Delver decks, especially with Treasure Cruise, because they can't sticking a Domri Raid does everything you want against a Delver deck. It will fight their very low threat density. It will draw you into cards so that you overwhelm their removal and their counter spells. It comes down cheaply. So I like the idea of holding Domri Raid going forward because it could be in a color combo that doesn't have actual good draw. But I'm not running out to pick some of them up.
Sounds like we're all pretty unimpressed and ambivalent about Domri. Glad to hear my suspicions were confirmed. A more exciting card that I think has potential, but I'm hesitant because of the spread. Geist of St. Draft. Buy lists for $6.50, retails for $14, almost a 55% spread. And I haven't really seen this in a lot of decks. At some point, it feels like a 3-drop that attacks on turn 4 for 6 damage isn't good enough in this format. Adam, you're the resident competitor, the Pro Tour player. From a competitive standpoint, where does Geist fit into the metagame?
Geist is actually pretty big in Modern. It fits into the Jeskai deck, as we're going to call it now. In Japan, there was a Jeskai deck that used Geist alongside Young Pyromancer in the aggro control build, and it did really well. There was a Grand Prix that sort of wrapped up the season. That deck for some people into the top 16, and I saw it doing well at PTQs in Japan. And Ben Weinberg, who I know, Doug, he played it to success in the Modern season, and I think it's kind of a deck that a lot of people aren't necessarily sure of because they didn't see it because it kind of came at the end of Modern, but Young Pyromancer is another card that also fits perfectly with Treasure Cruise. So Geist certainly goes well with Treasure Cruise, and given the developments in the metagame, I think that Geist is a pretty strong card and certainly one to always consider.
So here's a question. They've shown that they've been okay with printing slightly plane specific cards, and I feel like Geist is not actually an Innistrad specific card. I can see this being one of the more marquee mythics in the Modern Masters 2 type set, or I think if it gets reprinted, it's in Modern Masters 2.
Well, there was a promo that just came out.
Yeah, is it a GP promo?
No, it was a promo for playing in WMCQs. Is that what you call them? World Magic Cup qualifiers.
Got it. How much do you think that print run affects the overall supply? In the long term, not the short term.
I don't think it affects the supply so much as maybe it tells about their reprint policy and what they have in mind for it.
Right.
Maybe it's not going to be in Modern Masters, but it's more of a promotional.
Got it.
Yeah, it's just kind of like they checked it off their list of reprints. There's a little bit of a safety valve there if it starts to get going.
So I really like Geist of St. Draft as a pickup. I think it's going to be a $30 card in a year. Geist is I just played Modern 2 nights ago, and I watched round after round Geist just killing people, and it's like, well, how did you win that game? I just swung with Geist 3 times. Like, when you play a card who is that difficult to remove, you can transform the rest of your hand and your play style into simply protecting that card. So you play a Geist, and then you just point a lightning bolt at a blocker, or you remand a blocker or something, like you remand their Snapcaster Mage. And then you get them. And I've seen, Adam, you brought up that Japanese deck. I'm definitely aware of that one. I had seen a variant. A friend of mine was actually playing on Tuesday to test out, and I was impressed with the idea. And the idea is you run no counter spells, and in their place you run Boros Charm and Jeskai Charm, and you just know you're going to be foring your opponent every single turn of the game. And it was brutally effective. And Geist was a central part of that. And I'm not going to say that that's going to catch on, but I think people are going to realize that if they're playing a Geist of St. Traft, they can play a Boros Charm and use that to protect their Geist, as well as burn somebody out instead of playing a card like Remand or Spell Snare. I really like it. And then when I look at, like, what is a good transformational sideboard card, if you look at it and you say, like, well, I want to transform into an aggro deck here, or I want to be able to beat other control decks, Geist of St. Traft is the go-to card for that, I think.
Yeah, it pops up in all sorts of decks in that role.
Okay, so Corbin, buy, sell.
Buy.
Doug, buy.
I already listed it at buy on Trader Tools.
Adam.
Me too. Bye.
Okay, I'm not going to rate it buy. I'm also not going to rate it sell. Here's why. I think this is going to get reprinted in Modern Masters 2, and I think that that's going to hurt the supply enough without changing the demand. So would anybody like to gentleman's wager me that this is not going to be in Modern Masters 2?
Kelly, it could be printed in Modern Masters 2, and the price could still go up. I mean, Dark Confidant was cheap, much cheaper before Modern Masters came out.
It's true.
The Mythics, well, I think there's a couple things to consider when we talk about Modern Masters 2. One, several of the big name Mythics went up in price. Because that was a very limited print run, it was English only. This year, we assume the 3 GPs around the world are going to be Modern Masters 2. It's going to be reprinted in every language. I assume it will be a larger print run. There will be more supply injected into the market with Modern Masters 2 than there was with Modern Masters 1. So I think it's a little dangerous to try to hold cards to the same standard. I think that anything that is not a Mythic is going to crater. You know, if they put Remand at Uncommon and they put the Serum Visions at Common, those cards are going to dive, and so will most of the stuff at Rare. I think if Geist of St. Traft were reprinted at Mythic, I don't think it would go under $10, but I don't think it's going to go to $30 either. So, you know, I still call it a buy at this point because, you know, there's so many cards that we talk about wanting to get shoehorned into Modern Masters 2, and there's only so many spots. If they put Liliana there, which they may not, I kind of expect they will, then that's a Mythic slot for Ministrad, and at some point there's just enough sets that you want to include. So we'll see, but I don't actually am not scared of it being a reprinted that much because of the promo.
Got it. All right, speaking of Liliana of the Veil, Doug, buy or sell, and do you think it gets reprinted?
Gosh, I wouldn't be buying right now. I don't know that I'd be selling either, and I'll explain because it's now a foil Liliana of the Veil is the prize for sitting down at a PTQ if you win your PTQQ. So there's going to be a supply in the low thousands coming onto the market. Now, that probably won't have a big effect on the actual price, but I think it will have a big effect on the perceived price that should be paid for it. So, for example, her price right now is the best price you can get to buy listed away is $40 to ABU Games. When the promo was announced, you could sell her for $58. So there's a lot of, like, dealers are pricing it down, and the price has dropped, and the price might not reflect the actual supply coming onto the market, which would require Liliana to just bounce right back up in price. But I mean, this is one of those cards where we'd also look at, like, this is a candidate for Modern Masters 2.
She also seems really weak against Blue-Red Delver.
We'd be looking at it in 20. Well, it's not because Young Pyromancer just demolishes it, but in 2015, you know, we'll be knowing by May if Modern Masters 2 is coming out, and spoiler warning, it probably is, and we'll be knowing the list by then. And I don't know that I would be buying Liliana to hold her for the year unless you really needed it for a deck.
Got it. Adam, buy or sell?
I'm a sell.
Okay, so Adam's a sell. Doug, you're an abstain.
I would be a sell if the prices were any better to sell. That's it.
Okay, if it buy lists for 50, you're a seller?
Yeah, I'm a seller at 50.
I agree. I have a place that I'm actually sitting on right now, and I'm going to wait to buy some for 50. Corbin, buy or sell?
So this card is down $10 in the past 6 months. While we've seen other Innistrad cards and modern staples go up. I'm big on this being one of the 2 marquee planeswalkers in Modern Masters 2. I call it a sell.
All right, enter your ratings, gentlemen, and we're moving on to one of my favorite cards in Magic, Snapcaster Mage. Buy list by me is $18 for Card Kingdom, $30 on the retail price. 40% spread. It doesn't make me want to consider buy listing this, but I don't know whether or not I think this will be reprinted. I think it will be reprinted, but I'm not really sure if I can elaborate why. Doug, buy or sell Snapcaster Mage?
Oh, I mean, if you could think of a card that would be reprinted that would get players going nuts, it would be this one. I mean, Wizards has a history of reprinting these player rewards or these invitational cards. You look at Void Mage Prodigy, where they made Kai lose weight in the picture. They time shifted him also. You look at Meddling Mage, where Chris Piccola turned into a woman. Dark Confidant, where Bob Maher got a little bit more glam, or turned into Grima Wormtongue. Snapcaster Mage is a high power level card. It's one of those cards that they can say, hey, this is coming back, or we're doing this as a promo. Here's the thing, though. It has Flashback as one of its cards that it calls to, the abilities. And so Snapcaster Mage can only show up in a set where they can call to that. Now, Modern Masters 2, would we see Snapcaster Mage? I'm banking yes. I think that's one of those cards that's going to get people excited. They're going to say, I didn't get it the first time around, I can get it this time, and I would love to play him in a limited format where you can use him to snap back tricks.
Absolutely.
100% in Modern Masters 2.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so now in light of that, let's say I agree. I think that it's a shoo-in.
I'm holding off on a call on this. You need to have a set if you're playing Modern, and I don't think you're going to be waiting till like June or July of next year to get your set.
Does it get any cheaper between now and the announcement of Modern Masters, or the confirmation as a reprint? Or if you need them for your deck, do you just get them and deal with it?
Yeah, I would get them now.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, I would say that that's true. It's not going to be, I don't think it will be significantly cheaper or more expensive. But if you do not need them to play with before next season, sell them, because I would be astounded if this was not in Modern Masters 2 at rare, which would half the price.
Moving on to Aether Vial. I have not seen a lot of Aether Vial decks running around. The spread is relatively narrow at 35%. The buy list is $14.50. Retail is $22.50. I'm going to start right off and saying I'm a seller on this card. Ignoring that it was originally printed as an uncommon, I think that's irrelevant because it's so old. It just doesn't feel like a $20 card to me, and I can't substantiate it any better than that. It feels like a $5 card. It's just getting more and more niche in modern decks. Like Delver decks don't want to run it. Affinity decks don't want to run it, it seems. Pod decks don't run it. There's only a very specific kind of deck that wants to run Aether Vial, and that's that Merfolk kind of fairies type shell. And those aren't that prevalent, so I just don't think it can sustain the price tag. I don't think it's going to get reprinted, and I don't think it matters. I'm a seller on this, and I'm a seller hard. I'd rather have the $15 in cash. Adam.
The $15 in cash is tempting. Aether Vial is one of those cards that, like, it gets better with time. Every creature that gets printed makes the card better.
I mean, I don't think that I'm a sell. I don't think you should buy. I actually made this my pick of the week on Brainstorm Brewery several months ago, at which point it was sitting at about $15. Since then, it's climbed to $22. I think it's probably pretty stable, around $20. It has a lot of legacy demand going for it on top of Modern. Merfolk is a real deck in Legacy as well, and so is Goblins. I don't think the price number is there at $20. I don't think it goes significantly lower or higher. So, it's either a buy nor a sell for me.
Well, it sounds like in that case it's a sell if you have something better to do with the money, and it's a hold if you're a player.
Yeah, that's fair.
Arcbound Ravager.
Arcbound Ravager, I think is a huge buy.
At $20 retail, $11.50 buy list.
I don't think that it's going to be reprinted in Modern Masters 2 after it was just reprinted in Modern Masters.
Agree.
And Affinity is one of the most popular decks in Modern, and actually one of the best decks in Modern. And Archbound Ravager is an important part of that. And it's a card that's really easy to trade, it seems like. Trade away or convert into something else, and it's just a quality card. And I'm not going to go out and spend my bankroll on a stack of them, but it's definitely a card I like to trade for.
If you're the consummate Modern player, and you want to own this card, will there be a better time to own it in the next 6 months?
I mean, basically, if it's not reprinted in Modern Masters 2, I think the price is going to go. And Modern actually has an increase, like Corbin has talked about. I think that the card could double in price. If it gets reprinted in Modern Masters 2, then...
Yeah, I think we can operate under the assumption that it won't, just because we don't know if there's going to be a precedent for running reprints like that.
I don't think it will be, because they went out of their way to make Affinity a thing in Modern Masters 1, and there's almost zero chance they repeat the theme in Modern Masters 2.
Agreed.
And this card makes much less sense.
That's a good point.
Corbin, buy or sell?
Great point.
I'm a buy.
Okay. Doug?
Oh, Archbound Ravager is one of those cards that is only and will only be good in one deck. So you really are pegging this and saying, how good is this? How good is Affinity versus the field right now? This is the index card for Affinity. I don't think it's going to get any cheaper. I don't think it's going to get reprinted in Modern Masters 2, because I don't think they're going to be spending rare slots on reprinting a card again.
Agreed.
Unless it's Tarmogoyf for Dark Confidant, which I also expect to be in Modern Masters 2. But
really?
We see lots of
let's segue into talking about Dark Confidant, because it's one of the next cards on my list.
Well, I just wanted to wrap up and say that we keep seeing better and better Affinity hate. I mean, Stony Silence is in recent memory. We just had Vandal Blast. So
and Delver can splash a single breeding pool out of the sideboard for Ancient Grudge, and I actually won the match against Affinity the other day by Ancient Grudging them 4 times in one game, and then the next game Shatterstorming them twice. So it's really easy to beat the deck if you must.
It will never go away, because if as soon as it starts to fall off, people stop sideboarding 4 to 5 cards for it, then it will just immediately come back and win a tournament, because cranial plating is that good of a card. That's basically what it comes down to.
Truly, yes. And also, there's the potential for it to be a legacy deck.
Got it. All right, Dark Confidant. This one I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on, because... And Corbin, I want to start with you. I got a playset in the collection. I traded away 2 as part of my How to Buy a Collection experiment, which is a video you can see on our YouTube channel. But I still have 2. And I'll tell you, looking at a 30% spread on a card this expensive, you really start to get a sense of how important the spread is. $59 is really tempting, but when I look at the TCG mid of 85, even though I'm getting closer to 70, 75 or so after fees, that's still a $15 hit I'm taking. I want to buy list it so I can get the cash out. I don't want it to get reprinted so the price tanks. And I don't like having almost $200 just frozen in my binder doing nothing. I am not going to play it in the Modern deck. I've picked my deck for the season. So in that case, Corbin, what do you do?
In that case, you probably sell. I expect it to be in Modern Masters 2.
Do you buy list it, or do you try to binder grind it?
Oh, you do certainly try to trade it. If you can get some sort of a collection of high-end cards, if you want to get a bunch of shocks or a bunch of fetches for it, I think that's great. If you actually trade it into legacy stuff.
Retail for retail prices, would you trade it for Shocklands?
Do what?
If you went retail for retail price comparisons, no buy.
Would I trade it for Shocklands?
Would you trade it for a price equivalent of Shocklands?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's what I will do with them then. We'll talk about Shocklands in a minute, because that's one of the biggest things of the moment here. But so Corbin, buy or sell?
Doug. So in that case, I'm with Doug. That I think this will, along with Tarmogoyf, be in Modern Masters 2 again. Nobody's going to be upset. Nobody's going to open a Dark Confidant or a Goyf at Mythic or Modern Masters 2 and go, dang, I really didn't want this. This was in Modern Masters 1.
Oh no, it's my 5th one.
Yeah.
So at that rate, you think it's going to be reprinted, and you think that will still have negative effect on the price?
I think that the price will come down some.
Okay, Adam, will it get reprinted? And if so, how bad does that hurt the price?
I think if it gets reprinted, it'll drop the price down.
Do you buy listed at 59, or do you bind or grind it into?
Oh, I would definitely try to grind it out.
Or do you sit on it? Any chance?
No, I mean, if you
play
guys think it's going to get reprinted, like it seems pretty reasonable that it would be reprinted. I think it's probably something to get rid of.
Got it. Well, I just updated my rating to sell because that's what I'm going to do with mine. Doug, any last thoughts on Bob before we move on?
I think you guys covered it well.
Cool. Let's talk about the Shocklands now. I think that's the most important thing we can cover today. I got a good deal on mine, so I'm biased. I underpaid for them dramatically. I got them on at buy list prices essentially. Assuming that you have to trade for them at fair prices, what are we doing here? I guess is there a difference between the sets? What's that? Trade for every single one?
That's what I say.
Why? That's a bold statement.
It is. They did a massive reprint of Shocks. Not only did they put them in the 2 big sets, they put them into Dragon's Maze. They may still pop up in time to time from in supplemental products. That said, there's no reason for them to be lower. You know, this isn't the second coming of Zendikar Fetchlands, where they're going to go from $10 on rotation to $100 a couple years later. But they will very easily go from the sub $10 you can get them for now to $15 in a year or two. These were 2 years ago. You know, it's hard to kind of comprehend that because it seems like it was just yesterday. But these were printed 2 years ago. We get into next year when Modern Masters 2 comes out, all of a sudden they were printed 3 years ago. That's just a long time in the world of Magic with the way player gain and player attrition has been going, and there's no way that these don't go from the $8, $9 they are now to at least $15. With the other ones possibly being higher. Steam Vents could easily be $20.
Why specifically Steam Vents? Because it's Delver.
Well, it's all over the blue-red Delver decks. The decks that need the most Shocklands, period, are the blue-red decks, because blue-red is kind of the default combo color in Modern. It's your Storm, it's your Splinter Twin, it's if you're playing some of the other combo decks that exist, like Phyrexian Unlife is based in blue-red, things like that. It's just kind of the quintessential. We need all of these in our deck because we're only these 2 colors.
What set was the blue-red land printed in?
Do what?
What set was it printed in?
It was in Return to Ravnica.
Okay.
So the other decks, you talk about your 3 color decks, things like that. They get it by with 1 to 2 of each Shockland, a couple basics and fetch lands. Whereas the blue-red decks don't do that. They're just on the dual lands plane. It's Steam Vents and Sulfur Falls.
Yeah. So you trade for them aggressively. You literally pick up everyone you can. Adam?
Yeah, in my experience trading, I have a bunch of Shocks, and everyone wants them every time. I used some of my Shocklands to get standard staples that I needed. They're almost like currency, and Corbin very eloquently said everything you need to know about Shocklands.
Got it.
And I think if you follow his advice, you're not going to be disappointed with him.
I mean, you're the guy that basically funded an engagement ring off of your profits from Fetchlands, isn't that right?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I got into Magic. For the people who don't know the story, I got into Magic in Shards of Alar, the year before Zendikar came out, and all I ever heard was, "Oh, I wish I played when dual lands were $10. Now they're $80. They're so expensive." And then I looked at stuff like Polluted Delta and the old fetches that were expensive, $40, $50 at that time, and I just it sucks I didn't play Magic when I was a kid and got in on this really cheap stuff, but this seems like a good place to start. I'm going to do this. So I had about 100 blue fetch lands. I held them. I sold them all for $25, $30 when they hit 50 to 60 retail, and I bought an engagement ring for my wife with that money.
Amazing. So, Doug, I don't suspect you disagree on the Shocklands. Are you a buyer on this?
Cheaper and you'll always want them.
Got it. Any chance that these cannot possibly take up 10 spots in Modern Masters 2, right? That's just not going to happen.
No, I think filter lands would be in before shock lands.
Makes more sense. Okay, we haven't. This is the elephant in the room. We haven't talked about it. We have to. Everyone's favorite $200 bill, Tarmogoyf. Retail $200, spread 35%, buy list $130. Card Kingdom will buy hundreds of them from you at that price if you'd like to sell them. I don't really know what to think here.
So the best 2-drop in Modern right now may not be Tarmogoyf, it may be Young Pyromancer. And I can't recall who it was, maybe it was LSV was talking about how Pyromancer may be better than Goyf in Legacy right now, or also in Vintage, which are pretty bold claims to make. I mean, Tarmogoyf relies on both players' graveyards. And in every format that Tarmogoyf exists right now, people are removing their graveyards 7 cards at a time with Treasure Cruise. So that means that Tarmogoyf gets a lot worse when both players are trying to do that. I also know that I can guarantee that it's going to be in Modern Masters too.
Does anyone disagree with that
Like
here?
this card.
Corbin or Adam, do you disagree with it? It will be in Modern Masters too?
No, I do not disagree with that statement.
Adam?
What I would say, Adam,
Yeah.
It'll be in Modern Masters too?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Well, I think 3 of us think it's a shoe.
what I would say,
Go ahead.
what I would say is that I expect Treasure Cruise to be banned in Modern, at which point Tarmogoyf becomes. People always want to talk about, oh, Tarmogoyf, is it even that good anymore? Is it even that good to have a 4/5? They're making such busted creatures these days. And yet, Treasure Cruise is the latest thing that says maybe Tarmogoyf isn't that good. Treasure Cruise is probably getting banned. Even if it doesn't, I suspect Tarmogoyf is not going to go down from $200. I think that $200 is kind of a pain point for the card. You can see after it rose, it hit 190, 195 6 months ago, and it hasn't been able to break the $200 mark. I think that that's a psychological point with it. So I don't think it's going to go up a lot either, and I would suspect it to be in Modern Masters 2.
Would you trade it for
it's about as safe as you can get, in my opinion.
Would you trade it for? Would you trade it for a large number of shocklands, equivalent retail value?
That's a hard question, just because at some point you're trading a $200 card for $8 cards.
Yes.
Would I trade it for $220 worth of shocklands? Probably.
So you need a 10% bonus to get rid of your Goy for a bunch of shocks.
At that point, you are trading. It's a legacy staple and a vintage staple for shocklands, which are a heavily reprinted, albeit staple in Modern. At some point the tax does come into play there.
So do you think that we know that Wizards doesn't comment publicly on the secondary market, but we also know that they pay close attention to what cards are worth on the secondary market? Do you think they're looking at Tarmogoyf at $200 and saying, this is bad for Modern, we need to get this down below 100?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's on their mind?
Yeah, that's absolutely on their mind. That was one of the reasons it was reprinted originally, and now the price is higher.
Yeah.
And they're going to fix that.
Yeah, I don't know if Modern Masters 2 is going to bring as many new Modern players into the game so much as solidify existing Modern players' commitment to the format.
Exactly. It's
by
not
helping
going to
them fill out their second and third decks.
I think that may be true, if only for the fact that fetch lands are the thing that brought new players in. There were a lot of people who wanted to play and just could not, they couldn't even dream of affording Tarmogoyfs, but they also couldn't afford $60 fetch lands. Now they have $10 shocks, they're about to have $10 fetches. The things that are truly barriers, people can make deck full of $20 cards. You can trade for those. You can't just trade for your Tarmogoyf. If you can't, you can't throw enough $5 cards at people to get them to trade you Tarmogoyfs like you can a $20 card. I think that Wizards is going to reprint it. I think what's important to them is to make it available to players, even if they cannot get that price to go down to $100. If somebody has an opportunity to buy a box of Modern Masters 2 and open one and get going and then trade the rest of the stuff from that box for their other Tarmogoyfs, that's how they get them. Even if the price doesn't necessarily move, it's more available to players.
All right. So we're coming to the end here. We've only got a few more cards to cover. Abrupt Decay, $7 buy list, close to 12 retail. One of the best removal spells ever printed. Corbin, buy or sell, and does it get reprinted?
I'm on a buy, and I'm going to say it will be reprinted one day. I don't think it's in the next year. I don't think Modern Masters 2 will go through Return to Ravnica. I think it would probably cut before then if they were to place a time period on it. It's easily a card that could show up in a commander deck or a supplementary product, but as of right now, I say buy.
Adam?
Exactly the same sentiment.
Doug?
I'm a buy. It's not going to be in Modern Masters 2, and this one is just a staple in Modern. It's a staple in Legacy. It's just a perfect card, and I'd be picking these up. And in trades, it seems like people always want to pick these up for me.
Doug?
Oh, I like Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay is the card you lean on when you absolutely need to stop a whole bunch of different combos in Modern. It gives a lot of strength to green-black X decks, so I like the card a whole lot. I think at $11.50, it is a phenomenal pickup right there. I don't think it's going to be getting any cheaper anytime soon. There's the risk of a reprint down the line, but I think it's a low risk.
All right. Now, Fetch Lands, Zendikar Edition. We have two things here. I've heard rumblings that a number of fairly intelligent people think that they will be in the third set of Khan's block. I also think it is feasible that they reprint them in Modern Masters too. Between those two things, I think it is likely we will see Zendikar fetches reprinted within 12 months. If only to keep their prices closer in line to the Khan's ones, which are rapidly dropping from their high purchase. Adam, what do you think? Fetch lands right now are in the $30 to $50 range on the retail side.
It seems like they really might want to reprint those fetch lands. Another possibility is that they get reprinted, not in Modern Masters, but in this block. People have actually speculated that. This current block, along with the other fetch lands.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it seems like these are probably a little bit risky right now.
If you have them, you're keeping them, right? You're not trying to get cute with buying them back later.
Yeah, no, I have play sets, and I'll whatever happens to them.
Got it, Corbin.
A while back, I actively stopped picking these up and actively started getting rid of them, and I'm still on that. I will briefly state why I don't think they're going to be in this block, because I've had this conversation with people before. People have said they're going to be in the third set of the block to show the transition, from the first set. It's going to be the opposite. The issue with that is the way standard rotation works. The ones in the last set would be legal for 6 months longer than the ones in the first set. And given Wizards' stated disdain for shuffling in standard, I don't know that that's incredibly likely. I also think that given that they started lower than the older ones, they could be at rare in Modern Masters 2, be open enough to bring them down to $20 or $30 on the high end, 15 to 30 for the 15, 20 on the lower ones, and then you have your $10 to $15 cons ones, and your mana base is set to go. Those are all reasonable numbers. So that's my reasoning on why I think they will be in Modern Masters 2 and not this block. But they will 100% be in one of those two, and you should get rid of it.
I think we're all in accord here. Okay, well, we are out of time. Guys, this has been a lot of fun. I really like this format, and I hope that the listeners and the watchers do too. We're still pretty new to the whole streaming game, so if you have feedback, questions, comments, or concerns, just let us know. You can email us, forums us, Twitter us, Facebook us, Twitch us, YouTube us, all that. This will be going live on YouTube in about 24 hours or less, so if you didn't catch the beginning, you'll be able to listen to it in full on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/quietspeculation, along with all of our other MTG Finance videos. So, in closing, I think we got a lot of good stuff done today. I think that we realize that real estate is probably a good place to have your money in Magic right now, and Modern Masters 2 is really the specter looming on the horizon as far as what we're going to base our decisions on. So, Corbin, Adam, Doug, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks everyone for watching. And please subscribe to us, Twitch TV/Quiet Speculation. You'll get notified when we go live every single time. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.